In this extra special bonus episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about hesitant dinner plans, channeling evil Dale Cooper, how Kendara Blake is the best, narrating your favorite book, compelling stories, and dark and romantic endings with Matt Godfrey, voice actor and narrator of All These Bodies by Kendara Blake. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult books, series, authors, and voice actors that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to talk to Matt Godfrey, voice actor and narrator of All These Bodies by Kendara Blake. Now you need to make sure you check out our episode of All These Bodies and our chat with Kendara too, because spoilers!
Spoilers! Also, hey everybody, sorry the audio quality is terrible because, as most of you know, cursed.
So very
We're cursed. We're cursed. So do your best to enjoy this because it's a really cool conversation.
It very much is.
I know! It would be 100,000 times better than whatever this is. Curse words are going to start flying. It's fine. Oh, hey. So when you're a guest on Fictional Hangover, we would normally be really excited that it's time for Would You Rather, but you're special and you get your very own extra special bonus episode that doesn't include us being ridiculously excited. So, hey.
Well, hey, that's harsh. No.
I mean, we are ridiculously excited. If I wasn't so full of rage, I would be fangirling right now, but the rage has taken over my life.
You need to admit that ever since you got the confirmation through, you have literally been sending me squee texts.
I know I have. It's embarrassing.
Boy, well, I hope this lives up to the hype in your mind.
You can't see it, but she's actually, because of the rage, but she's excited. I know Amanda, and she is ridiculous. She's shaking on the inside with like girly squee.
I am.
I'm happy for that. But you can be full of rage too. That's fine.
You are a rage table, Amanda. You are a rage table.
I am a rage table. So, wow.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Everyone should be really excited, especially me, because Matt Godfrey has joined us after some slight Twitter begging / awkwardness, but that's what we do best. So we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
To be fair, that was on brand.
It was on brand. It actually could have been much worse. So thanks for joining in almost immediately. So we didn't take it too far.
Oh, I'm quite happy.
Good. Okay, so we decided that we were going to force you to play our All These Bodies game of Would You Rather, because I mean it wouldn't be an interview if we didn't force you to play a terrible game with us.
I'm on board. Let's do it.
Okay, good. So Claire, do you want to ask our first question?
Yeah, we asked this question on social media actually, and it was, would you rather interview a vampire or a vampire's accomplice? Resoundingly, the internet wants to interview the vampire.
Mm-hmm. Well,
on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, everyone wants to interview the vampire because it's a vampire.
Sure. I mean, that's sound logic, but not me. I want to interview the vampire's accomplice. I mean, look, interview with the vampire, it's been done. It's like, this is what I was thinking. It's like, would I rather interview Charles Manson or one of the Manson girls? And I feel like I'd rather interview one of the Manson girls because, well, first of all, I don't have the same fascination with vampires, I think, as many do. So I don't know that I'd want to sit at the table and trust what this vampire has to tell me. But I think it'd be really interesting to see, that outsider's perspective of somebody who was there, but maybe was not directly responsible for it. There's kind of an eerie, detachment that I think would be really interesting. I don't know why I kept thinking about the Manson murders, but just wouldn't it be more interesting to hear from, like, one of the Manson girls who was there for everything and could see how he was acting rather than like hearing it directly from him? I mean, look, of course, there's plenty of an argument to be made for interviewing, straight from the horse's mouth, but I don't know. I think I'd rather have it the other way.
I get that.
I
There's so
kinda
many
like it.
documentaries, isn't there, that's made about the Manson murders, or it's made about Ted Bundy, or it's made about Dahmer, but not from survivors or people who were affected by their actions. So I get that.
I think it's more interesting. It might not be as headline grabbing, but that's all right with me.
I feel like you took that in like a much more interesting way than we ever take our would you rather questions.
Well,
But I love it.
I'm
I
very
love it so much. Clay, did we both went with vampire for this one, right? I mean, that goes without saying for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We it's kind of like our brand now is just to be obsessive over vampires and challenge anybody who can persuade us otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
hate them. I don't hate them or anything. I don't know. There's a lot of vampire stuff out there, and I'm okay with other things too.
You see, having recently reread Interview with a Vampire as well, like, Louis is boring. I'm sorry, Louis is boring AF. And I couldn't be bothered to interview that kind of like emo, brooding vampire who just needs to like learn to love their afterlife. So I can get that. He's not the ideal candidate.
There was this show is fairly new, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but there is a recent unnamed show on Netflix that I thought did vampires extremely well. Maybe the best I've ever seen. Do either of y'all know what I'm talking about without me saying the name? Because
The
vampire
only show I can think of is set on a small island in America.
Yes, that's the one. It would kind of blow the show. I don't want to say it in case somebody hasn't seen it, but yes, set on a small island in America.
We like spoilers though. You can spoil things. It's kind of what we're about.
Well, all right. If you're super into Netflix shows and you don't like being spoiled, just close your ears for 1 second. I thought Midnight Mass did a really good job of vampire tropes, and like you don't know what it is until towards the end of the show. So it would be a spoiler. But
I will admit, by episode 3, I was literally screaming at the television, "It's a vampire!
Vampire!"
Yeah, I think I even messaged Amanda to say there's a vampire in Midnight Mass, and she's like, "I'm not watching it right now." Oops.
Yeah, but it's fine because we're used to spoiling everything for each other, so it's fine.
Well, sure, yeah. I thought it was cool though. I don't know. Angel or vampire? I thought was a pretty cool question that they asked.
I like the fact that at the end as well, you don't know if the vampire survived. You only saw it because it's really cool the way that this happens, Amanda. One of the victims, she starts ripping into his wings with a knife, and you just see it tearing through, and it's really slow, and it's done over a period of time. It's epic. You'll like that bit. And then the vampire kind of flaps off over the sea, but you don't see what happens to the vampire. And then the sun comes up, but you don't know if it gets to cover or if it's able to hide. So you don't actually know if the vampire at the end survives or not.
Yeah,
hey, that's kind of like this book that we're talking about.
Yes.
Oh, tie-in.
Brought it back.
Link.
That might be the best time that it's ever happened, because normally our segues and connections are shit. They're terrible.
Tenuous.
Super tenuous
by now.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Do we
let's
have
go
a
on to our
second
next.
question? Yeah.
Yes, let's do our next question. And I think I'm going to ask how it morphed on our chat with Kendara, because it's closer. It makes more sense this way.
Okay.
So, would you rather be almost shot in the head by a friend or by a police officer?
Well, I mean, I guess I would rather be almost shot in the head by a police officer, but my opinion, I guess, is probably clouded by the scenes in the book that it's referencing. Certainly, the way that it happens in the book, definitely the police officer. I loved that scene. I thought that guy was so funny.
Did it get you?
Did I get you?
No.
Nope. You would know if you got me. Um,
I like
whereas
how
the
that
other-
ended a chapter and started the next chapter. Like,
yes,
did I?
I think it
No.
was. So I read this book months before it came out, and it's already been
Brag.
out for a while, so I don't remember a lot of the details. But didn't it? Was that one of those where it started? The next chapter started with like the exact same line as the
Yeah.
last one ended with.
Yeah,
I
it was really good.
Yeah, I can't remember when that happens, which happens fairly often in books. Sometimes I'll just like copy the audio from the last one and paste it in so that it sounds exactly the same. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I guess a police officer, it feels like there's a lawsuit in there. Like if you got almost shot in the head by a police officer, there's probably some money to be made from that situation, maybe. So I guess I'd pick that.
Yeah, your
You're probably
friend's broke
right.
and not going to be able to pay out the compensation. So,
Yeah, you got to let that slide.
yeah.
And those friends were not friends. They were terrible
No.
anyway.
No.
That was kind of a horrifying scene, actually.
It
It was
was.
horrible.
It was awful.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it was
good.
so good at the same time.
So
I love
good.
terrible things.
So good. I love this book.
Oh, it's really good.
It's what we said to Kendara. The more you think about the book and the more you reread the book, the more you get from the book and the more you enjoy the book.
Yeah,
I
for
freely
sure.
admit the first time I read it, I was frustrated as all hell. And I was like, no! And then read it
What
again.
were you frustrated by?
Just the complete lack of absolute answers.
Yeah.
And then I read it again.
That's
and
what
got
I loved
lots
the
and lots-
most.
But that's it. I when I thought about it, I went, no, I like that because I like making up my own stuff. I like being, part of the creative process and ownership of the, the end myself. And then when I read it again, I was getting all these little hints and tips. I think it's because I read it the first time and then I listened to it the second time. So I had a completely different experience with it.
Okay, yeah.
And that helped. And then I was like, actually, no, I'm going to make my own ending up. This is what's going to happen. I'm happy with this. But also I want to know what Kendara's answer is, but we're going to get to that, I think. And
She's never going to tell us. She's
Yeah,
never
not.
going to tell us.
I hope that she doesn't tell us personally. I am really attracted to not having things spelled out or leaving things ambiguous. I just really like that. And I know a lot of people don't, and that's fine. My wife is not as into that as I am. I love an open-ended, sort of ending that makes you question everything that you thought you knew. I think that's great. And I wonder within this genre of this is a YA book, I guess, but I think the definition of YA is like changing because it didn't feel, when I think of YA, I think of, I guess I think of Hunger Games, which is very brutal, but it still feels like it's written for a younger reader. Whereas this, to me, felt like it was written on an adult level with just younger characters, which maybe is what YA is. But I wonder within that genre how that sort of ending is accepted. And I wonder if that was hard for her to write. I don't have any data to back this up, but it feels like maybe those stories are often more concrete in their endings. That may or may not be true, but it feels like from what I've read that that's true. And I wonder if this is sort of out of the ordinary and how people responded to it, because I loved it.
Mhm. I would agree with that actually, because I mean we read a lot,
We do.
and especially a lot of YA. We do a book a week
Okay,
every
wow.
week,
Yeah.
sometimes multiple, and there are very few times we'll get this. It's mainly with horror. So I'm sorry, I'm going to invoke the name, especially when we have technical issues. Don Kurtagich. I'm sorry, Amanda. I'm sorry.
You just cursed us.
We're
than we're
already
already
technically cursed. Kat Ellis's books, though, have a certain amount of closure. There still is ambiguity at the end of what happens with the central quote unquote bad guy. So especially within horror, I think you're completely right. There's more ambiguity, but there's also probably within horror a more acceptance of it. With a lot of others, it's very black and white spelled out. But it's interesting, and it's a good way of doing it. And
it's interesting. Anyway, I think that Kendara's great, and I thought this book was great.
Yeah, she's an excellent author, and I feel like in all of her books, there's always like a twist or something like in the last few chapters that she just stabs you with. And it's excellent. And I love all of her books. And I also love how they're all so different.
Yeah.
You know, most authors are, you know what you're going to get from the author. And that's really the only thing that's the same with Kendara's stuff, is just a gut wrench at the end. But all of her books are so different, and she's just really talented.
Yeah, I haven't read any of her other books, but when I got the email that I was doing this book, I looked her up obviously, and was really impressed with the stuff that I saw. But mainly, it's like you can tell within just a couple of sentences, but certainly within like the first chapter, you can tell if somebody is a good writer or not. And I don't even mean if somebody has come up with a good story, but I mean, like, technically speaking, if their writing is good. And reading the little intro to all these bodies, where Michael is, kind of gives his, like, quick little recap, and he kind of sort of tells you the ending too, which I thought was really cool. I could just tell immediately, like, oh my goodness, she is really, really good. This is going to be a great book. And it's 100%, it's been one of my favorite books I've ever narrated.
It makes me wonder what she's going to do and how different in every generation is going to be. That's in January it's released. And that's that's her Buffy book. And how different that's going to be in comparison to all these bodies. And we recently read as well her Anti-Goddess series. That's phenomenal. Highly recommend that one. Again, completely different based in Greek mythology. It's just...
And Three Dark Crowns is also completely different. And man, the twist at the end of that first book, you just like scream and throw stuff. And then you're like, oh my God, I need the second one. And I read those as they came out, so it was a nightmare. I had to wait so long for the second one to come out, and I was mad.
I get it.
But with this one, now I can, like, I got the arc for this one. She sent me an arc of it. So I read it a long time ago, and then I listened to the audiobook twice because I got obsessed. But yeah,
well, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I'm glad I screwed it up for you, because it's clearly a very good book, and you really don't want to mess that up.
No. Okay. We got to finish playing Would You Rather, because I got a lot more things that I have to talk about, and I keep wanting to talk about them, and then I I have to stop myself.
Just
Oh, yeah,
remember though,
let's-
Amanda, this is a non-standard. This is a bonus episode.
know,
so we don't
I
have
know.
to conform to our usual
I know.
structure.
We don't know.
I
what
know
we're
we
doing.
don't. No, we
We're
don't. We're just making it up
freestyling.
as we go along. We've
No,
only
I-
done one other episode, one other extra special bonus episode like this, and honestly, I don't even remember that one. I don't remember how it went at all. So
Yeah, who cares about that one?
no one cares. No one cares about
I
that
remember
one. Except
that
for it was with
one.
Caitlin. It was with Caitlin
It was with
Davies, and it was really
Caitlin,
cool.
yeah.
Oh, it was with
So-
Caitlin Davies. She's really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I care about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I care about it too, but I just don't remember how it went. I don't
It
listen
went
to
well.
any of these
That's all I
episodes.
remember.
Yeah, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So,
Hit us with
what's
the
our next?
question? Oh, me.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Oh, this is the creepy one. They're all creepy. Would you rather find the carvings in the trees or in the cemetery?
Oh yeah. I would rather do the carvings in the trees because the carvings in the cemetery felt like it wasn't. And again, it's been many months since I've read this book, so I hope I'm not misremembering something. But the carvings in the cemetery didn't feel like they were an imminent threat. Like it felt like, something had been there.
Uh-huh.
Whereas the scene in the trees, it was like something was there with you right now. And, you were out in the middle of nowhere. There was nobody else around. I mean, he had Percy with him, I guess. But, in the cemetery, it's like a big party. Right? It was a big party?
With with a gun in your face.
Yeah, with a gun in your face. Not great. Not great, but
It's not a good party. Let's not go to that party.
sure. But
Yelp review.
being out in the trees, creepy, Percy's there, and then all of a sudden he's just gone and you're by yourself and you see these weird carvings. And it's the first time you saw the carvings, if I'm remembering right. So that's very creepy. I don't know. I'd rather be in the creepier one.
Yeah. I think you could get away with the cemetery being like, it's just somebody tagging, just,
Yeah.
graffiti.
Yeah.
But if you find them in the trees, there's a whole, opening a Blair Witch thing here. And
Yeah.
that's not good.
It was definitely Blair Witch vibes.
Yeah. Do you not put that in the notebook bucket?
No. Ooh, do you know what? I love this next question. Because of course I do, because it's gross. Would you rather be covered in regurgitated blood or eat your siblings' heart ashes?
Mhm. Sure. I mean, a perfectly reasonable question. I would not rather eat my siblings' heart ashes. I would rather be covered in regurgitated blood because I don't have to eat that.
You do have to eat the blood. You have to put the blood in your mouth to regurgitate it.
I thought it
It's
was
gross either way.
I thought it was regurgitated from someone else.
No, it's your regurgitation.
So it's
You
not
have to-
somebody else throwing up blood on me.
No, you're
it's
throwing
your
up
own
blood on
blood
yourself.
Vomit.
But it's blood. It's somebody else's blood that I've drunk.
Right. It's not
Yes.
your blood. You didn't drink your own blood and then vomit it on yourself. That would be terrible.
But I mean, I don't know. That's not so far out of the realm. I mean, we're acting like that's crazy.
It's not at all. It is not at all crazy. It's right up our alley.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me think. No, I think I'd still rather regurgitate the blood on myself. I think.
Yeah.
Siblings' heart ashes. That sounds,
As I told Kandara, you just need a nice charcuterie board.
Yeah, maybe if you could put it on like a cracker with like some honey and a little, a nice cheese. But that's gross and sad. And the regurgitated blood is just gross. So I think I would
Depends how much you like cheese.
Well, the cheese is not sad. It's the fact that it's your siblings' heart ashes. If it was just any old person's heart ashes, I would eat those. But the sadness, I think, I would just rather. I want the blood.
That's fair. That's fair. Either way, it's terrible.
It is terrible.
Yeah,
I
it'll
just
be a
like
bad
that
day.
it will be a bad day. I just love that it's also sad. I didn't even think about it being sad at all. And any time that we've asked this question, and now it's like,
they're both
it
gross.
is sad.
They're both gross, but one is gross and sad.
But your siblings are already dead of tuberculosis. It's not like you killed them to get the heart. Now, I'm not persuading this or endorsing it in any way, shape, or form. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Or what if you hated your sibling?
But exactly.
If your sibling was horrible,
you were a dick. Nom, 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 nom.
I would eat. Yeah.
Or like, what if you gained their powers if you ate their heart? Assuming that your sibling has powers, it could be important.
I didn't know powers were involved.
This is my theory, Amanda. This is all my theory.
I know.
I mean, now I feel like maybe I want to eat the heart.
I've ate the heart.
I was covered in blood, as is evident.
That's just
in all of my social media posts. It is standard for me. I'm fine with it.
It's just a day ending in Y for Amanda.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know where I land on that. I mean, I'm feeling like I might eat the heart now.
I think maybe it depends on what you fancy for dinner.
True. I could do both. I could just do both.
I think you should. I think you should just do both.
That covers all the bases. Well,
it does. It does. All right. It's
blood
settled.
Pudding and heart.
Sure.
Nice.
Last question. Wash it down with a little blood and then vomit it all up.
Exactly. Last question. Would you rather explore the Carlson house or the house where Marie's mother was found?
Yeah.
So the Carlson house was the house at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. I would do the house where Marie's mother was found. The Carlson house is just a house where something bad happened. But Marie's mother's house is like a whole, to me, much creepier. You're isolated out there. It was, okay, and again, here I am again. I hope I remember this right. But it also seems like, everything had been sitting there for so long, but it was also kind of obvious that someone had been in and like tampered with it. Like, weren't the floors very clean or something? There was something. Mm-hmm. So a sense of more like immediate danger there. Whereas the Carlson house, it's like something awful happened. It's certainly haunted by that action. But you don't feel like something horrible is going to happen to you in the house. I know he saw the face in the window there, but still the other house seems more creepy to me.
Yeah. Plus, definitely. You almost get shot in the head there.
So true. By officer, whatever. That guy. Love that guy.
Oh gosh. So it's the end. That's the end of Would You Rather. Now I can talk about other things, and I'm super excited about it.
So when's that ever stopped us?
It's never. It's constant excitement. So what happened in the end of the story in your head? Because Kandara wouldn't tell us, which we already talked about that a little bit, but what happens in your ending?
I did think about this, and I don't normally think about this. For whatever reason, I like to just like let it be what it was, and I try not to I don't know, I just don't think much about what I thought could have happened. I just kind of enjoyed what I read. I don't know. But I did think about this. I don't think that there was a vampire. And I'm going to set aside for a minute his little sister letting that person into their house. That was one of the coolest parts of the whole book, I thought. So set that aside for a minute. I don't think that there was a vampire. I think that Marie was probably just groomed and, coerced by a serial killer into doing horrible things. And then he dumped her when he could dump her and saved himself. And I think the reason that I think that is because I think it makes the ending more compelling in my mind, because that final scene I thought was awesome. And I was completely surprised. I did not in 1,000,000 years expect the ending to be what it was. And I think it makes it much more emotional and human if Michael, it's like about what you would do, the crazy lengths you would go to for somebody that you're in love with. And I don't know that Michael would really put it into those terms, but I mean, it was a romance between them two. I read it that way, at least, but a romance that you don't read very often, like, young woman behind bars, like, they never even get to touch. I don't know. They do have that moment where they like hug or something.
Yeah, it's
they
limited
touch like
physical
2 or
contact
3
now.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it makes the ending so compelling to have this like 17-year-old boy driving. I don't believe that Michael believes that there is a vampire. Maybe that's why I think the ending is as it is, but I don't think that he thinks there's anything supernatural happening. But he clearly loves her and is faithful to her wishes and is driving however far to dig up her body and like whatever he had to do. I don't remember, cut off her head or cut out her heart or something. And he just, even though he doesn't believe there's anything supernatural happening, he just like so badly wants her to come back. Like in whatever, supernatural, horrifying form, he just wants to like open up that coffin and he wants her to come back. So I think that in the end, what would happen right after the book ends, I think he would probably wait as long as he could. And when that corpse didn't move, he would, whatever it was, cut off her head or whatever he had to do, which is just a crazy ending. I like when things are dark and they're beautiful. And I thought that she did that really, really well. So I don't think there was a vampire. But what was up with what's her name, little sister, letting that guy into the house, and then his dream that he thought was a dream, and then the guy was in the house, the blood drinker was in the house. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the
Maybe
scene.
it's
It's
just
like
polite.
Maybe it was just a guy.
yeah, it's just a random guy who was outside and then immediately inside your house.
And there were some things that happened that like, it definitely was not a dream, it seemed like, right? It like chipped the window or something.
Yeah, and the chip was still there after the fact.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like it. I like the way you think.
Wind. The weather's never described. And do you know that the figure outside and the person inside is the same person?
Maybe it's an elaborate scheme.
There might be more than one.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Could be more than one. Yeah.
What's that movie with Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale in?
Oh, it's The Prestige. They're
Yes.
secret twins.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's The Prestige.
That's a good movie.
It really is.
Good book too.
I haven't read the book. Did you narrate the book? Should I listen to it?
I did not narrate the book, but a publisher who I am friends with and have worked a lot with, Valancourt Books, did publish the book.
Excellent.
Christopher Priest,
Recommendation.
author, I believe. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so speaking of you narrating things,
Yes.
your Pilsen was the most terribly wonderful thing ever.
Thank you.
It was the best. I messaged Kendara after I finished listening to it, and I was like, "Oh my god, the audio is so good. And she was like, oh, did he do a good job? Like, did he do a good job with Marie's voice? Like, yeah, it was perfect. Everything was perfect. But Pilsen was the best / worst because, man, that guy is the worst. But your voice was so good, and you sounded exactly like the guy from Total Recall.
Yeah.
Did you watch that clip? Because you sounded exactly like that guy, which made it 1,000 times better.
It is really funny that is the person that you went to, and I definitely hear it. Like, I watched that YouTube clip to see, because no, I did not think of that guy, but I watched that clip and I was like, yeah, it kind of does sound like that guy. But no, I wasn't thinking about it. Actually, I also loved Pilsen. I just thought he was I mean, he's horrible man, but just like the best bad character. There's a lot of like, there's a big trend, which I can appreciate, of like, like the backstories to villains, like the Maleficent Disney films, or which I think
Joker.
is cool, or like Cruella.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool. Like, we get to learn why this person is like they are. But Pilsen is just horrible. Like, he's not he's not damaged from his
He's just
past.
ambitious.
He's just a bad man. And I really like that. And I really liked every time I would get to a chapter with him in it, I was like, yes, I get to do this horrible guy again. But to answer your question, I modeled him after Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks. I didn't try to mimic his voice, because that's not the way Kyle MacLachlan talks. But in my head, that's who I pictured, but just like an evil version of him.
I can see that.
When I do a voice, either it's just, I just like do whatever comes out, or I'll model it after a person, but that doesn't mean that it will sound like that person. I don't really know how to describe it. Like, if I tried to do an impersonation of, like, I don't know, some actor, like, it really would, I'm not good at impersonating. It wouldn't sound like that person. You might not even recognize it as that person, but like, that would be something. Like, it's like a starting point to get me going. So if I picture like Agent Cooper, that is what his name is in Twin Peaks, right?
Yes, Dale Cooper, yes.
Okay, thank you, Dale Cooper. I was saying it and I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. It's like, yeah, like I'll pick him and like that will work in my mind to do a voice, but it won't sound like that character. If that, I don't know if that makes sense.
I understand what you.
Yeah.
Like that's how it is in your head, just thinking about that character, and that's how it comes out. I understand it.
Yeah.
I can imagine though,
So good.
as you're reading the story and you're getting the characters developed, if some piece of information like an accent is suddenly thrown at you, can that throw off the character development in your mind? Like, all of a sudden it's like, this person who you've read 200 pages of has a Scottish accent. You're like, hang on.
Yeah,
you have to reevaluate.
You mean like while I'm recording it, or before I record it, when I'm
more during the prep stage?
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's why you always prep something first, because that does happen. Like 200 pages in, somebody has a Scottish accent, which would be a real problem for me because I can't do one. But yes, sometimes it does throw it off. There have been times when I've felt really confident about my choice of how to do something, and then something will be thrown in that is kind of at odds with what I was doing, and like I can't ignore it.
Yeah.
And then it makes me feel like, oh, now I got to change this. It's not as good. But yeah, I can't just like skip over what the author said about it. So yeah, sometimes it does throw you off. What's worse is when, and this is a hallmark of bad writing, in my mind, is when none of the characters have anything distinctive about them at all. There's nothing like even thrown in the narration about how a character feels, or even something as surface level of like where they're from. When everybody just sounds the same in dialogue, like they all speak the same with the same cadence, it's like everybody is the same, just talking to each other. That's worse to me, because then you're left trying to like create something out of nothing, which is
It's like you can't see the wood for the trees because everybody's a flipping tree and they're all exactly the same.
Right. So I'm going like, okay, well, this person, they get kind of mad at one point, so I'll make them sound mad. Like I don't know. Like I'm trying to make them. I don't know. I'm trying to make it work. But luckily that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen too often. Certainly didn't happen in this book. Everything was so clear. Marie is so distinct. Aside from Pilsen, she was my favorite. Marie is so interesting, and so specific. It felt like, I don't, except for Pilsen, I did think about him ahead of time. I don't think anybody else in this book I like made a voice for ahead of time. But after I read the book and prepped it and understood the story and understood who everybody was, you're able to just start recording and it just kind of like comes, And she was so specific, and I was worried about her because if the book wasn't first person from Michael's point of view, then certainly a woman should narrate it. But, since Michael's the POV character, it had to have been a man. But there's so much Marie, and she's, the main character aside from Michael. I was worried that would, you just hate to hear a man do a woman's voice in like a...
But you did so good. You did such a good job.
It wasn't that stereotypical breathiness. There wasn't that breathy, high pitchedness.
Like really falsetto.
Yeah,
it was good.
It wasn't it because Marie's such a calm character until she's talking to Pilsen, because he brings out the absolute worst in everybody, because he's an absolute worst person in the world ever. She was so calm, and that you did that. You portrayed a young woman's voice, very calm and interesting and intriguing, and you wanted to hear her talk more, but you couldn't because it wasn't written down, so you don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad that worked and didn't mess it up for you. But yeah, I really liked her. She was a very interesting character.
It's frustrating that we don't know anything more about her. Like literally whereas Michael's story could in theory continue, Marie's can't. I'm still surprised that they put a 16-year-old girl to death on probably very tenuous evidence in the 50s. I know it was a different time, but there was no forensics. You don't know that and it was for a mother's murder as well. Everyone. Oh, that still blows my mind. Crazy.
Yeah, it was a very shocking ending, even though we knew from the beginning of the story that she would be executed. It still was very shocking. And then she managed to make it like more. I like it when authors can like deliver a shock and then like one up the shock, you know what I mean? And it's like you're already shocked that she's going to be executed at age 16 for something that like, I guess no, never mind. She was really a murderer. We do find that out. But one person at least. But then like that extra shock of like she doesn't want the easy way out. She wants to get hung. Like that. I think that informs her character a lot. Like I tried to make her as matter of fact and tough, but yet still vulnerable, like a child.
Yeah,
as you could. I don't know. I feel like
you did it really well.
A lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
you read for us, certainly you've definitely encompassed the Marie character, because she's been through a lot in her life, and she's not going to be fluffy kittens and unicorns and sparkles hyperactive teenager. It's going to be in her manner. You're going to tell that she's got a lot of weight on her shoulders, and that came across. It very much came across.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Do you guys think that she elected to be hanged because she thought it would like help with the decapitation, and since she didn't want to come back as a vampire?
That's what I picked up. Like it would like maybe break her neck or something.
And maybe that counts.
Maybe that would get, it's like one step closer if she couldn't find somebody to, dig up her corpse. And then like on top of it all, is that what she's doing? Like she seems genuinely to be, maybe she doesn't reciprocate Michael's feelings, but she seems to genuinely like Michael. But is that all she's doing? Like, is she just manipulating him to have somebody for this like insurance policy to make sure she doesn't come back as a vampire? I don't think so. I think she's genuine. But like that's a possibility.
I thought she was conniving at some points. Like she wasn't not sweet, but the way she befriended Michael and Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's almost like, not that she was playing a game, but she was certainly milking the situation for the positives that she could get, because they were her only contact.
But that's what she's learned. She's learned to be manipulative because she's been, groomed by a potential vampire. So
and her
she's going to do the exact same thing. Yes.
Don't forget her stepfather
who may or
was a
may
terrible,
not be
terrible
the same person.
Oh, I don't believe that it is. But we know my theory is that the blood drinker is tuberculosis man.
We do believe that. It's the young brother from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
He ate the tuberculosis heart, and that transformed him into the vampire. And that's why the voice of the blood drinker is so bloody scary.
Oh, it was so good. And there's only like 3 times. It was so good.
I wondered if they would ask me to redo that voice. Sometimes they don't like sometimes they don't like real big choices. Publisher. Mm-hmm. I'm not criticizing them for that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, sometimes if you swing real big, it can just sound kind of stupid. But I felt like doing I don't know. He just didn't need to sound like a person. I wanted him to sound like a creature. So I did that weird breathing thing. And they didn't say anything.
It was good.
Yeah.
At 2 o'clock in the morning, I have to say it's not a comfortable listen. For the limited amount that he does speak, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I do not appreciate that in my ear holes, but I flippin' loved it.
All I appreciate all the time. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I did something similar for another book where there was like a sort of this was years ago, so I'm trying to remember. It was like not a vampire, but kind of like a crumbling zombie type person. And I did something similar for that too. But yeah, I'm glad that he spoke because I remember they sent me in corrections. I think Marie quotes the blood drinker at some point in the book, and they asked if I should redo that bit in the blood drinker's voice, but I didn't think so because it was Marie's speaking his words, so I didn't. But so I guess they were okay with that weirdo voice.
Because it was good, that's why.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. It was weird.
And because it was so weird, that kind of like spurs on the conspiracy theory that the blood drinker is not human and is real, but whether or not it's figment of the imagination. Could it be a group hallucination? Because it was Michael who heard the blood drinker speak.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
See, this is why I struggle with it. I keep coming up with different theories constantly because it was Michael who met the blood drinker, who heard the blood drinker speak, but it was Marie who's telling you that this person is a vampire. and giving you the history. So it's like, well, there's got to be all myths have some element of truth. So what is the truth of the blood drinker?
Yeah. And
There is no truth.
Kendara might not know. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily her job to have all the answers either.
No. She did tell us she has her ending. She knows the truth.
Oh, she did? Okay.
You know, she does.
She won't tell us, though. She won't tell anyone.
Locked in a
She
box,
didn't even
inside another box, inside another box, and then she's going to mail that box to herself, and that's
hit it with a hammer.
Yeah, forever hidden.
What else did she say? Did she say she was? I mean, obviously she's not going to write another one of these, but did she say she was going to write another one of these? Because I'd like to narrate another one of these.
No.
We would like you to narrate another one.
Yeah, we would. She did say that you were her top choice.
I think she told me that too. That was really nice. I don't remember how we talked. I got the email from Harper that I had been chosen. They must have, she must have it in her contract that she can approve the narrator, which is cool. They must have sent several people to her or something, because I didn't send in an audition or anything. They must have had samples. Yeah, I don't know. I 99% of the time I have no contact with the author at all. Publishers don't encourage you to reach out to them. I mean, they may not even know that their book is being turned into an audiobook. I think a lot of time people sign away audio rights to a publisher and then they just don't have any say in it at all. So it's cool that she does. And it is very cool that she picked me. I'm grateful for that because it's been one of my favorite books. And I think that she's an amazing writer. I don't know if she's listened to it or not, but I hope that she likes it.
I know she's at least listened to the sample and she was really excited about it. But then we fangirled at her about it too. So she knows.
I would not want to go back and listen to my book, I don't think. I think once you spend that much time with it, I think I would just want to be done. But I don't know. If she ever does listen to it, I hope she's happy with it. I was happy with it.
So were we.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm really proud of myself for not squealing as much as I thought I would.
You've done well. Well done.
I know. I'm really keeping it on the inside. It's really hard.
So aside from all these bodies, which we know is excellent and we absolutely adored it, what's your favorite kind of character to voice, or what's your favorite genre to narrate within?
I really do like doing evil people. It is just so fun. And then this is very specific. It's happened a few times. I really like doing evil preachers.
Ooh,
those are
nice.
Very fun. I often get hired for Southern novels because I live in the South and can do a lot of different Southern accents. A lot of the evil preacher thing comes up in Southern books a lot for some reason.
It's a good stereotype, to be fair.
It is, and it's really fun. You can make them really mean. Favorite genre? I work a lot in horror because I personally read and watch a lot of horror. It's what I am just personally interested in. But I also just really like literary fiction. Kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. I really like Haruki Murakami. That kind of thing I really like. And lately I've done more YA. This end of sort of the middle of this year to now, I've done the most YA I've ever done, and I've really, really liked it a lot. But if I had to just pick one thing forever and ever, I love the Southern Gothic. That would be my thing.
I could be into that.
Yeah, it's a good genre to pick. Very good genre
to
pick.
Yeah. Are your other YAs that you've done, are they also horror? Because YA horror is my favorite thing ever.
It really has kind of become a thing. Let me think. Not that the books aren't memorable, but I don't remember them. They,
Well, once you're finished with them, you've lived in that world for so long, you're just like, no, I gotta get it out. I gotta get
yeah,
out.
you
You
can.
just leave it all
I
behind.
tend to. Yeah, I can kind of like throw it away quickly.
To be
The
fair, it's like any job. I couldn't tell you what projects I worked on at last month at work. I
yeah,
can tell you what I'm
what's so
doing now,
weird?
but I couldn't tell you last month.
Why is that? Like, I spend so much time and thought and emotion on them, and then I just like bloop, completely forget them.
Because you're busy doing it again and again
Yeah,
and
you gotta
again
you
for the
gotta
new
empty
stuff.
out your headspace.
Yeah, everything that I'm thinking of though right now has not been YA horror. I think All These Bodies is the only one. I think it's everything else has been. I've done a few like YA sports books. I've done some middle grade. I don't know if y'all read middle grade, but I've done some great middle grade books. I think there's a lot of really good writing being done for like,
Mm.
ages 8 to 12
It's
or whatever.
like YA, it's going under a shift where the realizing that the readers aren't just little kids who need fluffy stories. They need
Right.
grit and they can have actual meat to them.
Yeah, I did a YA book called Forget Me Not that was about a girl with Tourette syndrome and this boy at
Ah.
school that she becomes friends with, and it was very um, emotionally intense. It was really good. And then I did this other. You guys should read this book. I think you would like it. It was written by Gibby Haynes, who is the lead singer of the Butthole Surfers. Do you remember this band from the 90s?
Yeah, yes.
So he's also a novelist. And he wrote this book that I just like thoroughly enjoyed every second of. That now I can't remember the name of it, so I'm going to look it up real quick. It was called Me and Mr. Somebody, Mr. Cigar, Me and Mr. Cigar. So it's a YA book, but it was the most mature YA book I've ever read about this kid in Texas who has this weird supernatural, like undead dog named Mr. Cigar. And they go on these weird adventures, but he's also like super into selling drugs. So they're like peddling MDMA on the streets of Houston. It's very funny and very profane, but it's a YA book. It was really, really good and like one of the weirdest things I've ever read. You should check it out. It was really good.
I'm looking at it right now, Amanda, and it's right up our street. It is weird.
It is so weird. It's so weird, but it's really good.
So apart from me and Mr. Cigar, which just is delightful in every way, shape, or form, and I've just put it on my wish list. What are you reading right now that is not work related that you would like or is there any books that you've read this year that is not work related that you're like, yeah, this is good. Let's shout that out.
Yes, I love reading, and it is harder to read for pleasure with this as my job just because I read so much all day and you just kind of get fatigued. But I do generally read at night before I go to bed. I have been reading. God, I've read a lot of books this year that have been really good. Right now, I'm in the middle of Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which I had never read before.
All right.
Felt like as a Southerner, I should probably read that book. And man, it is wild. It is so good. I don't know if y'all have read it or not, but it's a true crime nonfiction book set in Savannah, Georgia. This reporter from New York
Yeah.
lives and moves to Savannah, and it really is just like a weird character study of all of these just bizarre people who live in Savannah, and it has been awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm like halfway through, and there's been no murder, and apparently there's a murder. So I don't know when that is going to happen. But that has been really good. And then I've also been reading more poetry lately, and I've been going through a book of Mary Oliver poems, which has been I mean, I just couldn't recommend it enough. They're incredible. She's a beautiful writer.
Oh, my friend loves poetry, and I've been struggling for a Christmas present for her, so I might have to purchase her that.
Check out Mary Oliver. She's something really special for people who don't like poetry. I think they're all very accessible and simple and just really good.
I think we're at the end, right?
We're wrapping up now.
We said we weren't going to keep you for very long. Like,
we're 6 minutes over, which is pretty good for us. I mean, we did
really
keep Elise Green for 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh, but I love Elise Green, so.
Well, exactly. She is amazing. Matt, where can everybody find you on social media? Where can they stalk you respectfully?
On social media, the only place worth finding me is Twitter. I have an Instagram and other things, but I don't keep them up. I stand in this box all day recording, and it just doesn't really lend itself well to pictures, or else I'm just not creative enough. So on Twitter, it's at Godfrey Tweets is my Twitter.
Yeah.
My website is mattgodfrey.net. And I think that's it.
It was good enough for us to find you. So
yes.
Well, there you go.
And to be fair, you can just go onto Audible and just put Matt Godfrey, and you'll find an entire catalogue. As I have
huge
been
catalogue
doing.
Of stuff.
Yes, many pages of delight in your ear holes.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you. And now you have 2 annoying fans that are going to bother you at every opportunity.
Welcome to the Fictional Hangover family.
Yes, welcome to the family.
I'm very happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Good. We'll have to have you back a million more times. So just get ready.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
So that's it for this extra special bonus episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Join us literally every Wednesday for brand new episodes of Fictional Hangover.
Check out all of our other episodes that ever exist, because we are freaking delightful people.
Good enough. It's weird. It's an extra special bonus. We don't have these very often. So enjoy this whenever you happen to listen to it. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com, follow us on Instagram at fictionalhangover, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fictionalhangover, and on Twitter at fictionalhangover, no ER. If you'd like this episode, check out our others and rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for our music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.